We're asking you to really self-reflect. If you're feeling directionless and overwhelmed and just distracted and disorganized, we're asking you to raise the level of self-awareness that you have and just start to ask yourself why. Welcome back to the Push Podcast. I am Janelle.
And I'm Edward Copeland.
Okay. This is episode number 83. Today we're going to be talking to you about feeling overwhelmed. If you are, lots of people are, then we're going to do some spring cleaning to clean up your mental mess.
Why are we doing this?
Because it's spring. It's April. We're officially we're a quarter through 2021.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking about when we were talking about this episode was we're actually an entire year, like from when it got real bad.
Right.
Right. And I think that when you think about 2020, some people may think that that year was lost for them. Mm-hmm. And so they may be trying to do everything they possibly can to catch up. Right.
So if you are feeling any of the 4 Ds, if you're feeling disoriented, disorganized, distracted, or directionless, then this episode is for you. So,
yeah, and I think that the 4 Ds applied heavily in the beginning of the pandemic.
Absolutely.
And they probably are just as important now because I think you go an entire year where you were probably more sedentary than before. And so you got all this energy that you weren't exerting.
Right. Especially if you're a kid, like not on campus anymore, or if you're not going to work and you've been doing some working from home. I think it's fair to say that there's a lack of organization or structure potentially around your schedule. Like if you don't have to get up early to go to the gyms have been closed. Right. If you don't have to get up to, go for your hour-long commute, then you're not doing the things you normally did.
Right. And so then your routine gets all messed up. Everything is kind of disoriented. Mm-hmm. And then I think that opens you up to other distractions and other things that really hamper your ability to move forward. And I think that's where people get really directionless.
Right.
Right.
So we're going to talk about some ways to see and identify if this is you and if you are feeling stuck, and I can't speak today, and some things that you can do to get yourself back on track. Yeah,
and absolutely. So, I don't know exactly if you know this, the people that are listening or watching this, but I love zombie movies, shows, doesn't matter. That's my thing.
Is this your what in the world, or is this
This is my what in the world. This is my what in the world. So okay. I have, like many people, watched more TV because of this. Well, probably because, I was home with you.
Okay.
And so we watch TV and so then
don't try to make it sound like all I do is sit and watch TV.
No, you were recovering. And so we were spending time. You can't necessarily work and do all these different things. So we were enjoying each other's company and taking in some shows. And we had watched years ago, the Walking Dead, right, mm-hmm. and got all into that show. There's really great characters, great storyline, and then what I didn't know, but they created another show that's like the West Coast version.
Is it new?
It's newer.
Okay.
It's like I think they're heading into the 6th season.
It's called
The Fear of the Walking Dead.
Okay.
Right, and so it's like the West Coast version. The outbreak happened in LA. But then last night, so we got recommended to watch a movie. Mm-hmm. And so this movie was called Train of to
Busan. Bausan.
It was a Korean film, and the person that recommended it said, "Yeah, this is a great movie," and it was like 94% Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
And I go, "Oh, okay." And I looked at it, and I was like, "This looks like an Asian film," which is great. And I thought, okay, this is good.
Hey, stop Asian hate.
Right. And so
we're all for it.
And this is this is highly rated. And so I go, is there subtitles? Like, is this in English? Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, what?
You then how'd you see it? Because you don't
What
speak.
in the world is going on? You recommended this and you don't know. Okay, fine. Maybe you just were just trying to find something that I enjoy. And so we turn it on and it's completely subtitles. Completely. The whole thing. And so I was like, let's just give it a shot, you know?
At one point you said, she's a really good actor. And I said, you don't have the slightest clue if she is fucking up all of her lines or what.
Right.
And you started laughing because you really have no clue whether she's a great actress.
I just felt what was going on.
Through the subtitles. That was powerful.
And I think that was the first movie that I have ever, like a foreign film that I have watched from the beginning to the end. And I got to tell you, it was a great movie. I loved it. It was great.
It was good.
There were some moments, obviously, as a zombie connoisseur that I was like, you know, come on.
This isn't going to happen.
Bad decisions.
But maybe it was the Korean culture. Like maybe they go slower. I definitely think that they didn't do a solid job of communicating with one another in the middle of an apocalypse. Like we need to be talking. There needs to be communication.
No one said, I love you.
Not once.
No one said, are you okay?
Not once. And it was like very much like an experience because we were like, maybe this is our expectation as Americans.
Right.
Of the conversations you should be having. But yeah, that came up short.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good movie. The thing is, you guys, Eddie loves zombies. He loves to familiarize himself like with what the things are, what steps you should take when an apocalypse
something jumps off.
Arises.
You gotta be ready.
And so for years, we have been talking about like who in our family would be the first to go, who would be the first to get eaten, who would we leave, quite frankly, who would be,
what's
she's
our
a liability.
Area?
Where's the liability or where's the meeting area? So we're fully prepared and equipped to get through a zombie apocalypse. But the question and the reason why this is relevant to the conversation today is what kind of person would you be in an apocalypse?
Yeah. And so for all of you listening, like I'm not just sitting there vegging out. I am fascinated by what people become in a pandemic. Yeah, that too. But in a zombie apocalypse, like these storylines, people who are ordinary individuals that go to work every single day, they do all these different things. This, apocalypse happens and the zombies are attacking. And over time, people become very different individuals.
Right.
I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and I was categorizing them out of nowhere. I was like, okay, people become they become a killer, they become
a helper,
a healer, a guide, a restorer. No, not people who want to restore societies. Like I have a whole list, so maybe we'll do an episode on.
We are not going to do an entire episode.
Who do you think you will become if there was something ever to jump off?
So he shares this with me, and I said it's no different than what you become when you come into money.
Yeah.
And it's also no different than what you become when a global pandemic hits.
Well,
because the thing is if you are used to running your life in disorganization and panic, guess what? That heightens in a zombie apocalypse, in a pandemic, and anything tragic. Even, I think, when you have money.
Well, the difference you're absolutely right. All those things will play a big part in you becoming something different or becoming more of what you already are. But the difference is that you lose everything. There's no law. There's no commerce. Economy is not a thing. And so people are like, at some point you have to live off the earth and you've got to go back to growing things and all these different things, which is pretty interesting. But in that transition to this new world, like people become very, very different than when they were in civilization.
Right.
So it's just interesting. It's a psychological thing for me that I thought was fantastic. So
I love that.
My what in the world is don't recommend movies to people if you don't know if they're subtitled or not.
But you're 100% certain it's a foreign film. But it was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
Shout out.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, how do you want to bring this back in? Because today we're talking about, being disorganized, spring cleaning through your mental mess. How do we help people?
To bring it all back, we do live in a society that, has laws and we have rules, but we also have technology. We also have options. We have choices to make around what we do every single day, where our time goes. And if we are not careful, we can become overwhelmed by all those things. And it puts us in a state of being paralyzed, being petrified.
Time scarcity.
In time scarcity. And sometimes people are time poor, right? Or they think that they're time poor. And what ends up happening is that I think you live this world that's filled with tons of anxiety because you don't think you can get anything done.
Right.
So
this episode is also partly inspired by the fact that it's kind of the 1 year anniversary since shit hit the fan with the pandemic, right? When it did, we quickly saw that a lot of our friends, family members, people we care about, coworkers were freaking out, right? They were disorganized, they were distraught, and they were just kind of trying to figure out, like, how do I even wrap my mind around this? So they needed to do some spring cleaning last year. So we did a 30-day mind, body, business challenge last year. And so we wanted to kind of walk you guys through some of the things that we shared in that 30-day challenge in the next 30 minutes over this podcast episode. And with that, we had developed a journal that we've been using we've been working on developing it, mostly me, since 2015. I love journaling. And it's available for you if you just go to the show notes of this podcast episode or go to JanelleCopeland.com. We want to get you a copy. You'd print out 30 days of a journal. And this journal is going to help you with daily positivity. It's going to help you with goal setting and direction. It's going to help you with like reflecting on every day. It'll help spark some motivation. It'll help keep you focused on the 3 things that you have to get done every day, because the reality is we overestimate what we can get done in a day, but we underestimate what we can get done in 30 days, let's say. Right. And
then we
just a lot of
what
things
we can do in a day.
Yeah. So like commitment, determination, purpose, your commitment to excellence. So I think those people that are listening to the Push podcast, you show up every week because you want to do better in life. And so this is our way of helping you spring clean your thoughts, get some organization going on in your mindset. And we want to gift this to you. So it's going to be free. And in the next, I'd say 30 to 60 days, it's going to be on sale on Amazon. So we'll keep you posted on that. But for now, all you got to do is print out a free 30-day journal. It's something that, again, I've been using for a very long time. I've used tons and tons of journals. They're back here on the bottom shelf. And I added all of the elements that I think help keep you on track. So it's my gift to you.
And I think just to kind of add to the benefit of a journal is great to offload the things that will rest on your mind, that will keep your mind spinning and moving when you want it to be quiet, right? And so utilizing a journal is a tool. And so one of the things that we'll talk a lot about is like when you have overwhelm and you need to do some spring cleaning to kind of get yourself clear again, I kind of likened it to like dental floss, like mental floss. And the reason why I say that is because like the things that are distracting you, the things that are disorienting you, the things that are leaving you directionless, those things are in the cracks and the crevices of your mind that need special tools. And a journal is a special tool to kind of get in there and clean those things out so that you can find some clarity and find some direction and all the different things that are going to help you this year.
Love it. So click on the show notes and you'll be able to download a copy of the journal. You can print it out. And I would say you got to get committed. If you really have a problem with some like mental clarity and you're feeling disorganized and overwhelmed and you really want to fix it, you got to do something different in order to get a different outcome, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
So let's talk about how to like get on track though. In addition to the journal, where's the first thing that we start with? We talk about your time.
Right. Your
time is a scarce, it's limited. Everybody only gets 24 hours in a day. You're usually sleeping for 8 of those. You're probably working for 8 of those. It leaves you with another 8. What do you do with those 8 hours?
Yeah. And so I think what we will say is you have to track and you have to unpack. Like if you are feeling this in this place of confusion and frustration and it's all due to overwhelm, I think you have to really start saying, okay, where's my time going? I may not be giving myself the allotted amount of time to really get clear, to have space and to get my mind right, or to exercise or to do things that are really essential. And I think when you start to track, it's not so much about changing it immediately. I think you have to unpack why are you spending your time there.
Right. So there's this really great, I can't even remember where it came from, where I first heard about it, but I YouTubed it the other day and I'm totally going to make a TikTok on this. But it's about like if I have this really large vase or a jar and I put all my big rocks in it.
Yeah.
So big rock would be family, big rock would be work, big rock would be finances, like responsibilities, all of the things I have to do, right? Your health, things like that. And then you say, oh, look, it's full to the top. Well, is it? Because now I can add sand in it or little pebbles in it. And the little pebbles are distractions. So they can fit within the big rocks, but the big rocks are in there first, right? Once the big rocks are in there and now the little pebbles are in there, you can also still fit in some sand because sand will sink to the bottom.
Right.
So is it true you could fit a lot of shit in that glass,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so the opposite, though, is also like ineffective. It's highly ineffective. So let's say you have the same jar, and instead of starting with the big rocks, which are your main priorities, you start with sand. Sand is bullshit. Like social media, getting distracted on the phone, binge watching Netflix, doing all of those little things that don't add up to anything.
Well, I think also the accumulating crap. Like
right.
Buying things and
being a hoarder.
Yeah, filling your life up with stuff.
That you think will make you happy, but it's not really a big rock.
Right.
So if I fill that vase with sand, can I now put pebbles in, which pebbles are kind of like you've got the big rocks and then you've got the pebbles, which are important. That's a dentist appointment for your floss analogy, right? Those are things that are also important that you have to fit in.
Right.
But if you fill your entire vase with sand, which is the bullshit, you can't fit the pebbles in, let alone the big rocks.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a very visual thing, and I'm going to put a TikTok together for you. But
she's going to go outside but find her rocks.
I already tried to order rocks on Amazon.
When you were giving that example, that illustration that you wonderfully put,
okay,
I was thinking about the first time you were talking about like you put your big rocks in this glass jar and then you pour sand on it. What was interesting, I was thinking, then you'll never be able to get those rocks out of there.
Yeah, your brain went way too far.
No, but I'm just thinking like...
I'm saying prioritizing.
No, I know, but hear me out. What I'm saying is that you put these big rocks in and then you add sand to it. And then the sand almost creates a barrier where you can't even get to the things that are most important. So I mean,
you could go in that direction. Yes. Your TikTok could be about that. My TikTok is about fitting all of the things in that are necessary. Because let's be real, your family's important, your work's important, your sleep is important. All of those things are important. Those are big rocks. But it's also important to go to the dentist. It's also important to go to the gym. It's also important to meal prep and eat healthy food, right? It's also important to have a girls' night out with your girlfriends or your guy friends. It's also equally, I wouldn't say equally, but it's also important to every now and then watch a Korean movie or binge watch The Walking Dead or whatever, right? Those things help you live a balanced life. You feel guilty when you put the sand first, is what I'm saying.
Okay, gotcha.
So the point is like in your vase of life, you have to have all three of those. You need the big rocks. Those are necessary. So the point is to prioritize them. Make space for them first, which is, again, something that the journal helps you do. And then you can add in the pebbles. And then there's still room for the sand.
Right.
But there's less room for the sand versus if you were to fill the whole thing with sand and then now you have nowhere to put your big rocks.
Right.
Now you're screwed. You just are. Yeah. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
And when people, it was interesting because when we did this challenge and people started tracking their day, like things were revealed to them that were very unconscious.
Yep.
Like just how much time they were spending on things that really wasn't necessary, but was part of their daily routine. And so what happens when you start tracking things is it gives you an opportunity to question and to say, okay, is this where my time should be going?
Right.
If I'm not paying attention, if I'm not bringing something that's unconscious to the surface, then I'll never know that that's where my time is going. I'll just always think that I'm always running out of time.
So here's something you could do if you don't want to download the journal. Start tomorrow morning when you wake up. What time did you wake up? What did you do? How long did it take you to get ready? I remember when we went through this challenge, that was something that we had kind of given to everyone to do. And Eddie was really misunderstanding the amount of time that it took him between the time that he woke up to actually shower, get ready, get on the bike, do all the stuff that you wanted to do. And I know that I do too. So I know that when I wake up, I need 2 hours. I don't even wear a ton of makeup. It's just I want to get up slowly. I want to take my time. I want to take a shower. I want to do my hair. For me to get fully ready, not feel rushed, for me to feel like I've got my day started, have some tea, light a candle, I need 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if I know that and I'm aware because I've unpacked that and now I've seen it, then I can either try to hurry up, I can overcommit, I could stress myself out, or I can wake up with the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start tracking what time you wake up, how long it takes you to get ready, you took a phone call, great, write it down. How long was that phone call? 45 minutes. I promise you by the end of that day, when someone asks you, how did your day go? Rather than just saying it was fine, you'll be able to have some sort of accomplishments, hopefully, if you're focusing on the big rocks, right? Or you'll be able to identify that you're spending a lot of time on the sand.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll just say is just make sure it's called track and unpack. Like track those things, but then ask the question, okay, what makes this thing so important that I spend this much time on? What am I getting from it that makes it valuable to me? Because a lot of times it's just noise, right? And it's not, and we'll get into that a little bit as well. It's not anything that's really of value to you. It's not bringing anything better into your life except for more confusion and more distractions. Yeah, 100%.
So good. So that's number 1, track and unpack. Number 2, stop overthinking. What do you want them to stop overthinking?
Just do. Like, I think that so many people I talk to, they want to do something. They want to start a business. They want to change their career. They want to go out on a limb and they want to do their career. And they're constantly overthinking what's their next move. Right. And so they just overthink it. And so the analysis, paralysis by analysis. Right. And so constantly trying to think everything all the way through until they get to a place where they don't know how to put it into action.
And you never took action because you're too busy thinking about all the things you have to do. Right.
Yeah. And then they not only thinking about it, then they're thinking about what they're thinking about. And then they're feeling what they're feeling about whatever it is they want to take on, how hard it's going to be, or what maybe they don't feel prepared.
Shame, and then unworthiness.
Right, and start judging those feelings. And then you go into this perpetual emotional cycle where I think about a thought, I feel the thought, and I think about how I feel about it. and then I can't get anything done. So I heard this quote that says, just do. Don't think,
not just do it, because that's Nike.
No, I know, just do. And then after, reflect. And then ask yourself, should I have done that?
Yeah.
Right? Should I continue to do this? How did that feel? Was it hard? Was it challenging? Did I have progress? If so, then do it again.
And I think that one of the biggest things you can take away from this episode is that we're asking you to really self-reflect. If you're feeling directionless and overwhelmed and just distracted and disorganized, we're asking you to raise the level of self-awareness that you have and just start to ask yourself why. Like once you assess your day, assess where you're spending the time, assess the feelings that you have, assess the fact that you feel overwhelmed, now step back and say why. Why am I choosing to do this? Why does it make me feel this way? Why am I spending so much time on this? Why am I overthinking this? Like, just start asking why.
Right.
And don't be biased. Don't beat yourself up. Don't create more shame, but really just be honest. I spent an entire day the other day on TikTok, not watching, but not consuming, but creating, right?
Right.
And 1, it's new. 2, why did I do it? I did it intentionally. That entire day I spent to put out content, right? And there was a purpose behind it. Why did I do that? So that way the people that are looking to grow their business can show up and, see and consume something that's worthy of, holding their attention, hopefully, or something that will spark some sort of thought or conversation. And then hopefully they'll click on our website. Right. Hopefully so there's an intention behind it, right? But I see business owners so often spending the bulk of their day scrolling through Instagram. And if you really ask yourself why,
right,
it's not bringing you more business. It's not really growing your followers. You just think that that's what you're supposed to do. So you're creating all this busyness, which again is sand.
Yeah. And I think what ends up happening is that people consume content and then they think to themselves, oh, I could probably do this. but then they don't do it, and they just consume more content and more content instead of actually being on purpose and creating something of value for people to actually use and to in whatever aspect of their life they want to use it.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I think that keeps most people stuck is that you are over consuming.
Yeah.
You're over consuming. So you're watching too much Instagram, you're watching too much TikTok, and you're seeing other people be really, really good at it. Why? Because they are actually doing, right? And then you wind up still staying stuck while they're getting better. And then it makes your starting point even harder.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me to the next thing, which is number 3, set boundaries. You've got to set boundaries. You should never be consuming more than you're creating.
Yeah. And I think that when you set your own like self-discipline, I think the discipline is a muscle. That translates into other things that you're going to need to be disciplined around, like your diet, like, your routines, things that are going to help you and progress you in life. There has to be some type of, discipline put in place. And, we've talked about setting boundaries for others, but do you have boundaries for yourself?
Right. And I'll tell you, a good portion of last year, we did not have boundaries around when we were going to bed.
Yeah.
We didn't have boundaries around what we were eating. We were just every day like, what do you feel like?
Right.
And then we kind of woke up this year and we were like, why are we only eating what we feel like? Like that doesn't create discipline. It doesn't create healthy habits. It doesn't create any sort of structure. And so we should be focused on fueling our bodies with food that energizes us so we can feel better about our life, our bodies, our minds feel refreshed. And so this year we've been focused on creating more discipline around our routines and specifically around what we're eating, right?
Yeah.
And so the word discipline, that's a whole nother podcast episode on itself, but it sounds negative. It's actually what creates success in anything.
Yeah, discipline is freedom, right? Because if we are a slave to our emotions and our pleasures and what we feel like we want, then we're actually not in control. We're just kind of giving in to the things that feel good at the moment in a time. And we know that things that feel good over a duration usually snatch away our freedom. So it snatches away our health, snatches away our money, snatches away our career aspirations,
relationships.
There's very few disciplines. I don't think there's any discipline that's out there that snatches anything away. If anything, it actually gives light to things. It gives you access. When you have a very disciplined exercise routine, all of a sudden your health is not an issue and you have freedom and energy to do whatever you want to do.
Right.
When you have discipline around your money, all of a sudden now you have freedom to make the choices that you want to make with your money, to have access to the things that give you options in this world. So I think that we have to change how that feels for people, because people hear discipline and they feel like something's going to be taken away instead of actually being able to gain because of it.
So that step is setting boundaries in order to create some better practices around discipline and structure. The next step, which is step 4, I'm going to take you back to like, you've got to set time aside to plan. Something I say often that really pisses people off, and I say it all the time because it used to piss me off, is like when you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to be able to slow down in order to speed up. So you've got to slow down, assess where you're spending your time. You've got to assess the things that are important to you and figure out how to plan and strategize to get those things done. Right. So that's going to bring me back to the journal that we keep plugging for you to get. All you've got to do is download it for free, and it'll help you choose 3 priorities every day, things that have to get done. And you want to take and keep in mind, like, what is the 30-day goal that I'm trying to achieve? If you're trying to lose 5 pounds, you should probably be prioritizing the things that you're going to be eating every single meal, right?
Right.
And so it'll help you prioritize. If you're trying to grow your business and we're telling you that social media, hours of social media each day is actually sand, then what if you were to schedule and plan and be structured around when you're going to show up on social media every day? Maybe every day it's between 12 and 1, the lunch hour. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go on and you're going to engage, you're going to post, and you're going to show up intentionally for 1 hour. It would make you feel so much better, and you could celebrate that at the end of the day versus feeling like you didn't gain any traction. Because I promise you, if you scheduled that for 30 days and you were just adhering to a schedule with some discipline, you'd see way better results in every area of your life.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's interesting? And this is why it's so important that you plan, writing things down with your hands, journaling things, whether you type it or with your hands, is because it allows you to disassociate. And why that's so important is could you imagine writing down, hey, today I'm going to watch 6 hours of television and not feel a certain kind of way about it. Oh, I'm going to consume 3 hours of TikTok without creating any content. I'm just going to watch 3 hours of video. If you wrote that down, you would sit there and go, oh, I'm not going to do that. Right. I'm going to eat nothing but Twinkies and donuts today. That's my meal plan for the day. If you read that, you would go, oh, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. Right. And so there's a power to writing those things down, because now you have to reflect on it. You have to almost say to yourself, I'm not going to do that. Right. And so you'll find yourself writing things that you know are more from the higher sense of your mind, where you're actually planning out the things that are really productive and helpful for you.
Yeah. So step number 4, make sure you stop, slow down in order to speed up. And we're going to ask you to plan, strategize, and journal. Step number 5, you got to learn how to prioritize. We've said this a million times, but I think it starts with leaving your emotions out. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think when you prioritize and you're making if you're looking at things that are important, the last thing you want to do is you don't want to do that from a place of emotion, right? Because when you start to think about, oh, I feel like this is so important, that may not be true.
Right.
There may be some type of hang up you have with it emotionally that's drawing you towards that, and not necessarily thinking about it from more of a strategic standpoint of like, okay, this has to be important because this is the domino effect of this, the repercussions of this. If I don't do this right, is this. Here's a consequence, right? And so I think when you learn how to prioritize better, then I think you really put the things first that's supposed to be first.
Well, it works reverse too. If you say like, it's really important that I work out, I don't want to leave that till like the later part of the day, because then it was something I just don't feel like waking up to do. You're using your emotions to factor in something that you said was a commitment, you said was a priority, and now you're leaving it up to kind of happenstance, and later on in the day when you're tired or you've had a shitty day, it's not going to happen, right? So prioritizing the things that are important, big rocks, but leaving your emotions out.
Absolutely.
So start noticing how many times in a day you say things like, I don't really feel like doing that. I'm on TikTok right now or on Instagram because I feel like I'm tired. I feel like I need a break. I feel like follow, like, what is it that you're telling yourself you feel? And then ask yourself, like, are emotions required right now? Do I need to really be checking in with how I feel all day long? Because if I focused on how I felt, I'd probably be at the spa every damn day.
Absolutely.
Like I would be living in leisure every day. Why? Because I don't feel like getting out of bed when it's cold. I feel like staying in bed because my bed is comfortable and cozy, right? I don't really feel like working out every day because, it's hard and then you get sweaty and then it's just like a difficult thing. I don't feel like, getting dressed for the day. Why? Because pajamas are more comfortable. I don't feel like I should have to show up and record a podcast or, do something difficult that's scary for my business. Why? Because it feels unsafe or it feels uncomfortable. So if you think about all of the things that you think feel good, those are actually the things that hinder you from living your best life, from having any sort of structure, organization. Those are all of the things, if you focused on your feelings, you'd be listening to the Push podcast right now, trying to figure out how to get your life together.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. And I think that you get to that place where you learn how to make things a priority is really understanding what are the things that are essential in your life and then working from that. Right. And so
talk about the power of elimination.
Yeah. Then. So you have like the power of, I'll talk about the power
there
of
you
elimination. Is a lot of times we think about adding, like we're constantly adding things to our lives, right? We're adding stuff, we're adding, responsibilities, we're adding our family. But the power of elimination is the ability to say, like, let me take these things out. And I'll never forget the story of Warren Buffett, where Warren Buffett, if you haven't heard this, Warren Buffett was getting on a jet with his private jet, obviously, his pilot. And obviously when you're you're flying Warren Buffett around, one of the richest men in the world, you're probably trying to glean some type of information from this individual. And so his pilot asked him like, hey, how do you really goal set, right? And so Warren Buffett said, well, I'll walk you through it. And so he said, write down, top 25 things that you want to accomplish in life. So he writes them all down, and he takes the time to do that. And I mean, many people don't ever do that.
Right.
And so he sat there, he felt really good that he was able to put them in order by priority of which things he wanted to do. And he says, and Warren Buffett says, so now what are you going to do? He says, well, great, I have it written down. I'm just going to go down the list and try to, knock out all these 25 things. Right. And Warren Buffett says, see, that's the problem people have. Your goal is to say, what are the top 5 things, and then avoid the other 20 with like your life
by any means necessary.
And so eliminating those things, because those 20 things,
those are your distractions.
Those are your distractions, because while you're thinking about the top 5, you're also thinking, oh, but I really want to do this too. And so now
it also gives you an out, because if, like, let's say you're working on the top 5 and 4 just feels scary, hard, or it doesn't feel like it's growing as fast as you want it to, you just go to 7, because 7 feels better.
Yeah.
Again, the feelings, right?
Right.
And so I think that that's really solid advice. Like, write down 25 things that you want to do, you've been dying to do, you love to do, and then only do the first 5.
Right. Because you think about it like this, you say, God, I can't believe that the number one thing that I want to accomplish is actually in jeopardy because of my number 3 or number 10, right? And so number 10 is actually taking my time away from number 1.
Yeah.
And so if you find yourself divided that way, where you're like, okay, I have all these things I'm working on, use the power of elimination. I know it feels like an emotional thing, but just removing those things as an even option. I'm not even going to look at that as something I want to do. Then I'm sure you're going to find more progress in number 1.
Yeah, eliminating the noise. It kind of reminds me, before you gave that analogy of Warren Buffett, it reminded me of when Shonda Rhimes did The Year of Yes. And I thought, ooh, that makes me really nervous to say yes to everything, because I'm very, very, very into saying no to things and eliminating things. And I think that most people need to start there, especially women. In our experience working with female entrepreneurs, women by nature, we're nurturers, we're people pleasers. And so we have a tendency to say yes to more things than we should, to overcommit to more things than we should be committed to, based on the priority list that we have, the things that we say are important. We say yes to all this other bullshit for everybody else, but we need to be focused on our top 5, not in a selfish way, but just in a way of realigning you and getting you to eliminate the distractions, right? So I would challenge you, in addition to the 1 through 25, what can you say no to? What is literally robbing you of focusing on your 1 through 5 right now? And so that's kind of where my brain goes with elimination. If you are a people pleaser, you need to start writing some of the things down that you're doing regularly for other people that are not getting you to where you're trying to go with the limited amount of time that you have.
Yeah. And it's almost like making a list of to-dos for the day and saying, okay, my goal is to eliminate as much as possible, right? And narrow down to the things that are the most important, because in your current task list or your to-do list, you have 2 or 3 things that are hypercritical, and everything else is noise.
Right.
Everything else is not really bringing value to your life, not really going to make a difference. In a lot of cases, if you're looking at your list the correct way, some of your top to 3 things that you're trying to accomplish actually eliminate the other things on your list as well. Right. Yeah. Because they're big rocks. Right. And so a lot of times the big rocks have a ripple effect that actually help you eliminate some of the other things or cancel those things out because they just weren't important in the first place.
Here's an example, because we're talking about like health and wellness. If you prioritized healthy eating and healthy meals, you could eliminate the fact that you also need to lose weight.
Right.
You could eliminate the fact that you are feeling self-conscious. You could eliminate the fact that your clothes aren't fitting you and it's making you feel some type of way about yourself and your confidence, right? So focusing on that big thing, which is the system, the structure, the prioritizing of the discipline,
right,
kind of knocks out all those other two birds with one stone.
You get really good shape. You start sleeping really well, which I need to work on. You start doing all these things and you don't need coffee anymore. So now you've eliminated having to go get coffee.
Bad habits. You say no to that.
Yeah, you eliminate that, even that whole time that you spend, getting your caffeine. So a lot of those things, there are some things that really have a ripple effect and can clear things up in your life.
Yeah. So we hope that this episode was helpful for you. If you are looking to declutter your mind, get back on track, and kick off this second part of the 4-quarter year, because we're going into the second quarter now. We are in the second quarter, right?
Right.
Maybe you in December, you decided that you had some New Year's resolutions. Guess what? You already lost a quarter.
Right.
So you lost 3 months. Maybe it was helpful. Maybe you achieved some of those goals, but we're going to push you now to step into the second quarter in a better, more organized and disciplined way. And so head over to JanelleCopeland.com or click the link in the show notes and make sure that you download your free copy of the 30-Day Thrive Journal. If you print it out and if you start to use it, we really hope that you'll share it on social media. Tag us at Janelle Copeland, Cope with Eddie, because we want to see your progress.
Yeah,
and I think I'm going to start journaling on TikTok every day.
That'd be
TikTok's
awesome.
like our new thing. Here's a fun story for you really quick before I let you go. Eddie, my husband, has had 1,100 Instagram followers for like ever, 0 TikTok followers. And maybe 10, 12 days ago, you decided to just show up on TikTok and you said, every day I'm going to post one thing. It's going to be less than 15 seconds, less than a minute.
Right.
And I want to shout you out because you guys, he's like at 5,600 followers on Instagram now. Right. And you have a couple thousand followers on TikTok now.
Yeah, and what's interesting?
And all you did you showed up.
Yeah.
The videos that were the worst with the worst filters where the kids were making fun of you, like some of them went viral, right? Got like thousands of views, and we were like, this is a prime example. This is like God's way of ordaining you.
Oh my God.
Saying, I told you, all you got to do is show up.
Yep.
Just be in action.
Show up and show out. Just do.
So I want to recognize you for just doing.
Now my wife is going to be super famous because she's putting on some high quality videos.
I got to catch up to you. So anyways, go follow us on TikTok, Janelle Copeland at Eddie Copeland.
Cope with Eddie.
Oh, sorry. Cope with Eddie.
On both Instagram and TikTok.
Right. And if this episode served you, please take a couple of seconds just to leave a comment or write a review. It helps us, curate the conversations that we're going to have with you. And last thing, show up on Clubhouse. I've been showing up on Clubhouse, having really great business conversations. And we just want to help you grow in business and life, in your relationships and your finances, and just let us know how we can help. So we will see you soon. And until then, we hope you
push through.